Hey Beth, it's great to see you again.
Thanks.
I'm glad you were able to schedule in another session for
Yeah.
a following week. I know that can be really hard to do with a new college schedule, being a freshman and all that.
Yeah.
How was, just kind of brief overview, 1 or 2 sentences, how's your week been?
It's been okay. I've been hanging in there. That is weird getting used to it all.
Yeah.
But we're making it.
Okay, good. Last week we did that mood check, and it was kind of just a scale of where you're at anxiety-wise.
Yeah.
We talked about how anxiety is kind of that overarching issue you're wanting to talk about and wanting to deal with, and just feeling nervous and having all that stress, which is a lot of new stress starting a new school year at a new school in a new place. So with 10 being the highest, remember, like most anxiety you've ever felt, and 1 being the lowest, like no anxiety, feeling fine. Where would you say you've been at this week?
Last week I was feeling like I was probably an 8, and I don't know if I would say much has changed, so probably like still like an 8 or 7 maybe, but not good.
Yeah, still sitting pretty high,
Yeah.
feeling that pretty constantly.
Yeah.
Okay. So today last week we did kind of more surface level, getting to know you, didn't dig right in on the first session and go deep. And we're not really gonna do that this session, especially if you're not comfortable with it. But we are gonna kind of prioritize one problem to look at and talk about. So I wanna get an update on your week and see how the week went, what were maybe some of the more notable moments in the week, whether it was a stressor or something that helped you calm down, or just maybe any event that you had this week, like what happened, what's happening in your life. We'll kind of review the little like assignment I gave you at the end of last session to keep track with thoughts and emotions and when you're feeling anxiety. And then we'll prioritize one thing that you want to work on for this week. We talked about a lot of general issues and goals you had last week. We kind of specified a desire to kind of be able to socialize a little bit more, a little less anxiety with homework and time management issues, getting used to a new schedule, and kind of, maybe feeling more comfortable in the city you're in. We talked about some of that. So we'll kind of pick one of those depending on what you feel like is most important for you. And we'll discuss that. It'll be easy. I'm not gonna sit here and stare at you for an hour as you expand on all of that. And we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some easy ways for you to start practicing cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, which we talked about last week. That's the modality I use, where your thoughts affect your emotions and your feelings, and that affects your behavior. So you talked about feeling like isolating yourself, especially in big groups, and how, that's a behavior coming from a feeling, which is anxiety, and that's coming from an automatic thought. And then I'll be sure to kind of summarize as we go, so it doesn't feel just like a whole bunch of information coming out at once and feeling disorganized, because I know that feeling disorganized is probably a lot of what you're already feeling. So we do want to like help make sense of what you're feeling and help that feel normal, because it is, especially at your stage in life, especially being a freshman in college.
Yeah.
And then I'll get some feedback from you, and we'll set up a few other ways for you to practice this week. How does that sound to you?
Sounds good.
Okay, good. So tell me about your week. What, some highs, some lows, some middles?
I've been here for just not even quite 2 weeks yet, and I feel like I still haven't met anybody. I know I talked to you about that last time I was here, but I don't know what it's just like everybody else seems to be connecting really well already, and having these friendships that I wish that I had, and that like they all just seem so comfortable, and have this stability about being here, but I'm still so anxious and constantly just waiting for times when I can be back in my room and by myself. But yeah, it's just very new, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of change.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's really overwhelming. And then I know we kind of touched on it last week, but feeling like you don't know anybody and that making you want to be alone.
Yeah.
And then feeling like that makes it so you don't know anybody. And
yeah, exactly.
the tension between those two,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, it's hard to manage.
Yeah.
So last week we did the thought record kind of homework where when you feel really anxious, you'll kind of jot down, we were just gonna do like 3 times a week. So not like every day. I'm not gonna have you write me a paper. I'm never gonna have you do that. I'm not gonna be your teacher. But were you able to jot down any times that you felt anxious?
Yeah, I actually did. One big one was when pretty much every time I had to go to the cafeteria, especially after in between classes, everybody seems to, it just gets really overcrowded, and people just seem to be getting along really well. It's like one of the times that I get to see everybody in one space, and I just feel so isolated still. That's like been a big one that I wrote about, was just every time that I had to be in the cafeteria, I guess.
Yeah. So that was, I gave you 3, but you could have written 7, I bet. That's every day, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
So what would, you remember how we talked about how feelings are triggered by emotions, and it's an automatic thought, like so fast you might not even know like that you're thinking it, but it leads to how you're feeling. Were you able to kind of make that connection to what you thought before you were anxious?
Yeah, I suppose whenever my anxiety got really high, it was always when I started thinking like, oh, everybody else is friends and everybody's connecting really well and getting along. And then I started comparing myself and being like, I don't know anybody. I feel like I don't know anybody at all. Why don't I know anybody? And then it's like, oh, I don't know anybody because people don't want to get to know me, or just getting insecure based on those thoughts, I suppose.
Yeah. So those like feeling insecure, feeling like people don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Those are automatic thoughts. Like your brain is trying to make sense of what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And our brains are designed beautifully where we can make sense of things and put those puzzles together, but it doesn't always mean we're picking the right pieces.
Yeah.
So we talked about just kind of how maybe some people already knew each other beforehand. Like maybe they're like, a lot of people automatically, if they're on the same sports team, they have something in common and they get to go for it.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different reasons that people might be connecting with each other. And I know I don't know you well, but I would be very doubtful that it's people don't want to hang out with you. You seem like you're easy to get along with.
Thanks.
So how do you feel like that homework assignment went? Do you feel like it helped you kind of make sense of what you're feeling?
Yeah, at first when you first mentioned it, I was like, oh, not another thing I have to add to my to-do list.
Yeah.
But actually it ended up being helpful because I had to process, I suppose, when I was in the cafeteria after we met that first time, I was like realizing, I noticed my desire to leave, and then was like, it was just really bad. And so when I got back to my room, I was like, okay, I know what this will be, one of the things I gotta write about. And when I was writing about it, it just felt like I had to think about how I was feeling, and that was helpful.
Good. I'm glad that was helpful. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to it's hard to identify those things, but it's hard to even process through those and think about that and be like, oh, I'm feeling this way, or oh, this is what's hitting me and this is what's going on. And that's a large part of what makes therapy hard.
Yeah.
Is uncovering those things, going through the mess to kind of figure out what we need, what we need to go forward. So kind of touching on that note, what would you say, we remembered we talked about some of those goals you had last week. What would you say is one of the main things you want to work on? Just that would help ease a lot of your anxiety.
Definitely actually talking to people. I think when I get really in my head, I all of a sudden don't know how to talk to anybody. So if I could find a better place to get to know someone without a million people around, that would probably help. But that makes me feel anxious just thinking about it.
Yeah. So the big crowds and the big areas like the cafeteria, sounds like that's where it's most overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. That sounds overwhelming. It's a big college cafeteria.
Yeah.
So let's work on that today. Let's kind of talk about ways to get you involved maybe in some options that you have at your school socially, some things that you'd be interested in. I'm not gonna like make you join chess club unless you love chess, then that'd be great. But yeah, so we'll kind of let's talk about that a little bit more. So we talked about the automatic thoughts you have, especially like when in a large group. What about do you feel that same level of anxiety in like a classroom or in your dorm?
Not my dorm. My dorm is like, I just get really overwhelmed thinking about whenever I have to leave my dorm, or like the next thing I have to do, and am I gonna be anxious there? Am I gonna have to talk to somebody? Things like that. Classrooms, it's a little bit easier sometimes because it's like people aren't talking to each other. People are usually mostly focusing on the teacher, and so it's not like I don't feel weird for not talking to other people, unless it's like a group project, which since it's so early on, it's still like those aren't happening quite yet, but eventually it's like some of them, my classes, the teachers are talking about how it's gonna happen, and that makes me feel anxious. Like if it's a big group or if even a small group, like if I have to, am I gonna mess up? Am I gonna get anxious and like not know what to do?
Yeah. So that would be maybe a good thing that we can hopefully get in front of before we have to do group projects.
Yeah.
Because group projects are already hard enough in class. You don't need additional anxiety with that. Yeah. So do you feel like the cafeteria would be an appropriate place for you to practice skills, to get to know people? No. Okay, that makes sense. I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
What are some options around campus? I want you to kind of think through that maybe have like smaller groups of people where you could get involved. I know most schools have clubs, or maybe like a group tutoring or a dorm get together, something like that. What do you think is something that sounds the most comfortable?
Yeah. Maybe there's a climbing club. I went climbing growing up, and it was like with my older brother and friends of his, so it wasn't like scary for me, and I really enjoyed it. But then thinking about the club here, it's like that would be fun to get back into that, but I don't know the people in it.
Right. Yeah, that is hard. So what are some of your concerns with joining a club? You don't know the people in it.
Yeah.
What would you say, would you say you still have that automatic thought of, what if people don't want to hang out with me? Or what if I'm not, people don't want to sit with me or don't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much the trend with all of it, or does that vary at all?
No, it's the trend. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that you demonstrated really well by filling out that little log. Like, that's the thought to the emotion to the behavior.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, we need to kind of work on that thought to help with the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, instead of doing the log like that, I'm gonna have you do 2 homework assignments this week. Homework assignments. Okay. I would like for you to, I would still like for you to write down the times you feel anxious, but and write the automatic thoughts you have.
Okay.
But when you write the automatic thought, I want you to write another option, another reason you might be feeling that way.
Like
Another
a more positive one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's,
like when you last week said, maybe people know each other in the sports or like know each other from back home.
yeah.
I hadn't thought about that before.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to work on identifying what you're feeling and what you're thinking, but also realizing that maybe what you're thinking is maybe not true. I think it's pretty unlikely that at the big school you're at, everyone thinks that you're not fun to talk to or something. Like, that's very unlikely. I see no reason for that to be true. As a clinician, I feel like I wouldn't worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to kind of work on changing those thoughts. Let's think about, what are some other reasons that I might be feeling this? What are some other reasons that this might be happening? And kind of breaking that cycle of thinking. And then I do want to encourage you, if this feels like it's a lot, tell me no, but
Okay.
to do just one thing, just sign up for climbing club. I'm not going to make you go.
By next week?
Mm-hmm. Does that sound like something you could do?
Yeah, there's actually supposed to be an event where you can sign up for all the clubs on Thursday. So I was thinking it would be good to do it, but I didn't think I should, but now I have to. So.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not going to make you, but
it helps encourage me to do it though.
Yeah. And I was thinking sign up over email, like shoot an email to who's in charge.
True.
I mean, signing up in person, I think that would be really good. I think that would give you an opportunity to connect with someone. Like, the club leader is usually there.
Yeah.
And they're usually, the club leaders have been doing this before. Like, they're not usually brand new to the school. I know freshmen tend to be, sometimes they're harder to socialize with because they're all going through this hard transition.
Yeah.
But it could be someone that could help you kind of get more connected. And this, I think a club that you enjoy would help you get more connected. And you wouldn't be climbing with 20 people around you, like right next to you. So that'd be nice.
Yeah.
So I do think that would be a good goal for this week.
Okay.
I will kind of give you an out where if going to the get together to sign up for the club seems too much, then sign up by email. And I think that's just one step. I'm not going to make you sing a solo in the cafeteria.
No.
We're not going to do anything like that. Therapy is progress. It is a trip. But it also is, it is challenging. I'm here to challenge you and help you challenge your own thoughts and put in, a little bit of work, whether that's sending an email or talking to someone.
Okay.
So do those things, do they sound like something you can do?
Yeah.
Or they don't seem like too much or something that would be overwhelming?
We'll see.
Too overwhelming.
I know. We'll see
Nothing's
how I
gonna
feel later on, but I think
Okay.
I could do that.
Okay. Do you feel like those would be helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll talk about it more next week for sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we're going to kind of get to a close for this session.
Okay.
I know it's overwhelming to talk about a lot of it. I know that you got a little overwhelmed talking about how you're feeling in the cafeteria and feeling all of that, and it is a lot. It's very overstimulating. There's a lot of people you don't know who are all interacting with each other, and it can feel very isolating, and then it can cause you to even isolate yourself further.
Yeah.
And want to go into your dorm. I'm glad that we were able to talk about that a little bit more. I am very impressed with how you did with the little homework assignment. I think you're doing great making those connections.
Thank you.
I'm not at all worried about you struggling with doing these tasks. I think you're already showing a really good dedication to putting in a little work, which is hard, but worth it, and I think you're going to do a great job. So, new homework assignment this week. You want to repeat it back to me so I make sure we got it down.
Okay, I'm going to try to get involved in climbing club, and there was something else. I'm going to try to think of more positive thoughts.
Thinking of other options, like what's a different response to your automatic thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, is this true? What's the proof of that? And I have a sheet that I'll give you. It actually really helps. It'll kind of go through questions. Because sometimes it's hard to challenge yourself when that's the way your brain works. So I'll have a sheet that I'll give you before you head out. Okay. And it has questions like, what proof is there that this is true? Or what's another reason this could be happening, and kind of guides you through talking through that yourself, and helps you kind of train your brain to kind of think about, wait, maybe this isn't right. Maybe this isn't the puzzle piece that I need to make this make sense. We went through a lot today. Talked about a lot of what you're feeling, and I know that a lot of it's still really new, so I feel like it is a hard time to talk through a lot of it, especially when you're feeling it really strong. It came on fast, new school year, new place. How do you feel like this session went? Last session you were a little iffy about therapy, not sure if it would be helpful.
Yeah, it went well.
Yeah, okay. So where would you say 1 to 10 your anxiety is right now?
3.
3? Really? That's great. So maybe, what do you think is helping getting it there?
Just working through all of this with you.
Yeah. Maybe developing some steps. Breaking it down, making it easy, making it doable. Great. Well, I'm so glad you were able to come in this week. I know it's really hard to work therapy into your schedule when you're a college student. There's always a lot going on. And as you get more engaged, there'll be even more going on. But I was really glad I was able to talk to you this week. And I think, would you be available to come in sometime next week?
Yeah, I'll do it.
And be able to schedule at the front?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
All right. See you, Beth.
Bye.